Hello, I am Kent Larson, Director of City Science at the MIT Media Lab. We are just beginning an exciting collaboration with NTT Data to deploy a version of our Cityscope as a data-enabled decision support platform for shared interactive urban design and consensus building focused on a community in Rome. And it is a great pleasure for me to give you an update of our work for the NTT Data Innovation Conference 2022. This is an exciting time to explore new models for cities. Periods of rapid change create opportunities for innovation, and cities are undergoing yet another time of disruption and transformation. I'd like to take just a few minutes to summarize what motivates our work at City Science. Now, we believe that the planet is becoming a network of cities, and the most successful cities in the future will evolve into a network of resilient, high-performance communities, bringing together emerging design and technology innovation with time-tested settlement patterns that are fundamental to the human experience. We also believe that static and unresponsive processes of urban planning must be replaced by new data-driven, simulation-based, interactive, real-time, inclusive urban programming platforms that have quantifiable ESG or environmental, social, and governance community metrics. Our Cityscope projects around the world explore this future. And we also believe that conventional zoning and land use regulations directly lead to the high cost of housing and create barriers to the adoption of innovation. To create an alternative to this obsolete century-old system, we are exploring an algorithmic zoning strategy to encourage pro-social urban development by mapping fine-grained community benefits to land use incentives, making use of public ledgers and self-enforcing smart contracts. We believe that increasingly obsolete 19th and 20th century infrastructure will be replaced by lightweight, distributed, and ultimately autonomous self-regulating systems in many parts of the world for food and water and other resources. We believe that data will fuel all of the key urban systems in the future, and we're building new environmental sensors that we call termites and data visualization tools to understand fine-grained human behavior in the spaces where people inhabit. We're also making use of telecom data to reveal complex behaviors at the scale of a city or country, and new strategies for synthetic data sets that properly anonymize otherwise invasive personal data so that it can be used for the public good without compromising privacy. We also believe in an urban future without private cars and with lightweight, shared-use, community-scale autonomous mobility modes, such as our persuasive electric vehicle that can provide door-to-door mobility for people and autonomously deliver packages, and our autonomous bicycle, which brings together the best features of bike share, such as Blue Bike, with rideshare, such as Uber, to provide a higher level of service at lower cost than either station-based or stationless bike share systems. We believe that the lack of quality, affordable urban housing dramatically hinders economic development of cities, and that urban space is far too valuable to be static. We're developing a new model for housing that is responsive to the complex new activities that are now centered in the home, making use of architectural robotic systems and fractional ownership to make housing much more affordable. We believe that there is no greater challenge than global warming. In addition to top-down government action, we must focus on hyper-local solutions to global problems. To explore possible zero-carbon community futures, we're building an interactive model to study the potential impact of key local interventions. Now, I'm sure that you are aware of the UN Climate Change Conference, or COP26, that recently took place. At COP26, there were many vague references to zero carbon. But what would actually be required to achieve this? Soon after the conference, many were asking, are net zero climate targets just hot air? And the answer is, in many cases, I think they are. Of course, we need to take action at many scales. COP26 and the new Green Deal here in the U.S. mostly focuses on top-down efforts, but more impactful and near-term may be bottom-up local actions that a mayor or a local community can take. We think of this as hyper-local solutions to global warming. And with 70% of global CO2 emitted in cities and 90% of projected population growth in urban areas, a new model for urban design, technology, and public policy is clearly required. In fact, I believe that we will never successfully address climate change without deploying a new model for cities. But what should be our priorities? Now, there are a number of very good top-down climate modeling platforms. One that I particularly like was developed at the MIT Sloan School. This mostly looks at the global impact of taxing the activities that are harmful to the environment, like the burning of coal, and subsidizing those that are good for the environment, such as renewable energy. This is a prototype of a model that my city science group recently built that takes the opposite approach. This platform allows a community to understand the impact of a number of key local interventions with the potential to dramatically reduce energy demand. We then look at the viability of clean, locally produced energy to meet this new demand. In this interface, we can visualize the current energy demand by sector, including both the embodied and use energy of vehicles, of buildings, delivery, food production, etc. We can also see the related CO2 emissions that fuel the electrical grid. Now, starting with the current percentage of electric vehicles in Kendall Square, we can see the resulting reduction in CO2 emissions as we increase the use of electric vehicles. We can see that even at 100%, though, there is a relatively minor improvement, given the embodied energy of the chassis, body, batteries, and electronics, and the fact that the electricity delivered to the area is mostly generated from fossil fuel. A much more dramatic improvement is seen when we can achieve live-work symmetry, that is, opportunities for the people who work in the district to live within walking and biking distance. We can look at the transition to ultralight mobility and package delivery modes that replace cars with lightweight, low-energy vehicles. We can see the impact of compact transformable housing that occupies 60% less space with greater functionality. We can see the impact of providing all of the amenities that people need in their daily life within close proximity, the schools and shopping, recreation, workplaces, and cultural venues. We can study the transition to local production of food and fresh water and the local processing of waste. All of this reduces the energy demand, but we have not fundamentally changed the predominantly fossil fuel electric grid. Now, using every possible surface in the district, we can estimate that solar may only meet 30% of the electrical load. We can then evaluate high-density, low-carbon baseload power, such as natural gas with carbon capture, micro-fission reactors, or eventually small modular fusion reactors. Of course, pushing these interventions to the extreme limits is not practical in most cases. There are significant social, political, and economic constraints to these local actions, just as there are constraints to national and international action. What is critical is that communities begin to explore these options with a data-driven, evidence-based process. And in many cases, the same interventions that address climate change will also create more vibrant, livable, healthy, entrepreneurial communities. And finally, we believe that we can go a long way towards achieving the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by scaling community innovation to cities across the planet. Certainly, we help meet SDG goal number 3, good health and well-being, by creating compact, walkable, and bikeable communities encouraging physical activity. We help hit 6 with distributed water purification and sanitation, 7 with local energy production and microgrids, 8 with more entrepreneurial communities, 9 with resilient distributed infrastructure, 10 with equitable access to affordable housing and local resources. Now, goal 11 is what all of the other goals should contribute to: the city as a network of resilient, high-performance, connected communities. Deploying lightweight mobility and local food production will get us a long ways towards SDG goal number 12. And the dramatic CO2 reduction from all of the above will help achieve 13. Sustainable coastal communities will help with 14. And compact, higher density cities will minimize sprawl and deforestation. Finally, we help with 16 by creating strong community social ties and innovative local governance. We're just getting started with this model and all of the interventions that this simulates. So I would like to challenge all of you to help us identify, model, prototype, and even deploy hyperlocal solutions to the grand challenges of our era. Thank you.